This episode of TechNewsDay is sponsored by Capterra and Mack Weldon. And I'm alone again, but that's fine. Now, last week, also alone, I gave a long overdue eulogy to MoviePass, a company that Ricky and I never expected to survive as long as it did. And unless former Helios and Matheson Analytics CEO Ted Farnsworth is successful in somehow resurrecting MoviePass for a round 2 do-over, the book is officially closed on that company. Which is sad, because it was providing a lot of great material for our shows. To be fair though, there was a few things that we did miss along the way. Like, for example, somehow we missed the fact that Ted Farnsworth, a Florida man, has founded and/or been in charge of over 50 different businesses over the last 3 decades, including an energy drink company called Xstream, and a psychic hotline with LaToya Jackson as its spokesman. And nearly all of his businesses failed spectacularly. He's also failed to pay his taxes on time 11 separate times, and has been sued a bunch of times for breach of contract and unpaid bills. So yeah, knowing all that, it's somehow even less shocking seeing how things turned out for MoviePass, knowing that that man was in charge of the entire operation. Anyway, while the idea of not having a regular stream of MoviePass fuck-ups to report on is sad, it's important to remember that the business world, especially the tech sector, is full of similar but unique examples of companies and executives having way too much confidence in themselves and their product. One such example is WeWork, or as it was renamed earlier this year, the We Company. Now, I'm just going to call it WeWork for our purposes. And I'm not sure why we never covered WeWork on this show before, but I think a big reason is that this is a tech show, and WeWork isn't a tech company. They're basically just landlords, but they do seem to think that they're a tech company, and their vibe as a company is very Silicon Valley, despite being New York based. And over the years, they've secured a shitload of investment from folks who normally only throw that kind of money at tech startups. So despite, again, just being essentially landlords, they're talked about like they're a tech company, both in the press and in the financial sector. So what is WeWork exactly? If you've only heard of WeWork recently, it was probably from that post about some startup getting locked out of their office for several days because an umbrella fell down. But okay, at its core, WeWork rents out office space. They lease floors in office buildings long term, they renovate them, and then they sublease space on those floors from full-on actual office units down to the option of just sitting at a desk if one is available. But they do all this in a very hip Silicon Valley way. And it is pretty appealing. If you've got a business of just a handful of people, you can get a nice office in a nice building, and as a tenant, you also get furniture for your office, Wi-Fi, though it's not very secure, printing, a kitchen, clean bathrooms, meeting rooms that you can book, complimentary coffee and beer, and other basic amenities. Plus, your little startup will be sharing the floor with all sorts of like-minded young entrepreneurs, so there's lots of opportunities for networking during the workday or at WeWork's regularly scheduled parties and mixers. And the idea is to provide workspaces for the types of people who normally would just be working from home or at Starbucks. Now, as a small business owner myself, this is actually all very appealing, especially considering how antiquated much of the commercial rental business still is. We even looked into WeWork for a second before realizing that it would be terrible for our audio. So we just got an apartment instead. You can't tell the difference. So WeWork is a good idea, though it's not really their idea. They're not the first ones to try the idea, and they're not the only ones actually doing it. The International Workplace Group, formerly known as Regus, has been doing the flexible workspace thing since the 80s. And they're absolutely huge with over 2,000 locations worldwide. And more recently, companies like Notel, or Notel, with a K, have been doing basically the exact same thing as WeWork, but without all the massive hype and press coverage. And if you Google co-workspace or flexible workspace in whatever major city that you're nearest to, there are loads of offerings out there, from companies with dozens of locations to just single location places. So yeah, while WeWork has been very successful at branding themselves as pioneers and game changers in the office space business, what they're doing isn't actually unique at all. The only real difference between WeWork and all the various other companies doing the exact same thing is that WeWork has received over $10 billion in funding from the SoftBank Vision Fund, an investing partnership between the Japanese conglomerate SoftBank and the Saudi Arabian government. WeWork was supposed to go public on the stock market this month. It's not though, at least temporarily, and that's where the fun starts. WeWork's CEO was, up until this week, its founder, Adam Newman, who in a lot of ways is very reminiscent of Travis Kalanick, the founder and CEO of Uber. Like Kalanick, Adam Newman is the sort of absurdly optimistic and ambitious person who, time after time, is great at starting companies and raising capital, but becomes a liability further down the line once enough corporate lifers are now in the room also making decisions. Most of what I'm about to tell you comes from a just great piece in the Wall Street Journal that ran last week, which I urge you to check out if you can. It is behind a paywall though, but here's an excerpt to get us started. Alcohol has been a big part of the culture, particularly in We's first half-decade. Mr. Newman has told people he likes how it brings people together, and tequila, his favorite, flows freely. Executive retreats sport numerous cases of Don Julio 1942, with a retail price of more than $110 a bottle, and pours sometimes start in the morning. A few weeks after Mr. Newman fired 7% of the staff in 2016, he somberly addressed the issue at an evening all-hands meeting at headquarters, telling attendees the move was tough, but necessary to cut costs, and the company would be better because of it. Then, employees carrying trays of plastic shot glasses filled with tequila came into the room, followed by toasts and drinks. Soon after, Daryl McDaniels of hip-hop group Run DMC entered the room, embraced Mr. Newman, and played a set for the staff. Workers danced to the 1980s hit It's Tricky as the tequila trays made more rounds. Some others, still focused on the firing, say they were stunned and confused. Now, to be clear, this kind of thing isn't totally unique in the startup world. Saying one minute that you had to lay off a ton of people because of costs, and then the next minute spending a completely unnecessary sum of money on some bullshit for morale or something. I myself worked for many years at a company who also spent lots of money on bullshit between the somber layoff sessions, so I know it well. The tequila shots and Run DMC performance, though, take this example to a logical extreme and demonstrate for the millionth time that the show Silicon Valley might as well be a documentary. Anyway, Adam Newman likes to party. The trays of tequila shots were apparently a pretty regular thing, even at job interviews, and the annual WeWork summer camp sounds like it was a boozy shit show. And also a former female employee says that she got groped by some drunk coworkers at a WeWork party and then got fired in retaliation after telling HR about it. Come on, lady, chill out. This is a fun job. You're just wrecking these good vibes. Come on, you're fired. Adam Newman also loves to smoke weed, especially on private jets. Work hard, play hard. According to that Wall Street Journal article, he once chartered a private jet to Israel for some business meetings, smoked weed the whole way over, and then when the pilot discovered a massive stash of weed on his plane left over to use on the return trip, he immediately flew the hell out of there because he had inadvertently just done some serious drug trafficking and did not want to end up in an Israeli prison. So he left, and Newman had to find his own way back to New York. A real dude, where's my plane situation, am I right? Luckily for Adam Newman, the petty inconvenience of having your private plane ditch you in a foreign country because you tricked your pilot into doing drug trafficking will eventually be a thing of the past, because Adam Newman plans to live forever. And of course, someday there will be probably like autonomous jets or some other thing that he can travel in. And yes, you heard that right. Adam Newman plans to never die. He's told multiple people this and has invested a lot of money in a company trying to make aging a thing of the past. Again though, while Newman and WeWork aren't actually part of Silicon Valley or the tech world, this quest for immortality is also really popular among tech billionaires. Anyways, with an unlimited lifetime ahead of him, Adam Newman's other goals that he's told people about include becoming the world's first trillionaire, becoming the Prime Minister of Israel, where he's originally from, and eventually, somehow, becoming President of the world. This guy's vision board is bigger than most houses, and so is his ego. And that's again a common trend among these big tech founders. They're absurdly ambitious people who don't have room for self-doubt. They just go for it, and that unwavering confidence can go a long way when you kind of actually know what you're doing for the most part. Adam Newman is not a tech entrepreneur at all in terms of what his company actually does, but in spirit, he fits right in alongside the rest of them. Now, most executives would just go, to a gym if they wanted to work out. Adam Newman would have his personal trainer come to him at work and just wail on a punching bag in his office with Rihanna blaring in view and earshot of everyone, and then immediately go and do his office rounds while barefoot and drenched in sweat. That's big founder energy right there. The guy's also 6'5", aka 195 centimeters tall. So there's definitely a bit of tall guy energy in there as well. Newman co-founded WeWork 9 years ago when he was 31 years old after a few other business ideas of his failed to catch on. One was inventing women's shoes with a collapsible heel. Another was baby clothes with built-in knee pads called crawlers with a K. While he was doing those ideas, he and a business partner started a co-working space on the side called Green Desk that actually proved to be successful. They sold Green Desk, and it's still around with multiple locations in New York City, but after selling it, they immediately started WeWork, doing the exact same thing. Newman said at the time, quote, "During the economic crisis, there were these empty buildings and these people freelancing or starting companies. I knew there was a way to match the two." So again, it's a good idea, but also not a new idea at all. Anyways, another fun fact about Adam Newman is that his wife, Rebecca, is actually Gwyneth Paltrow's cousin. Now, if you've been following what Gwyneth Paltrow's been up to lately, it shouldn't be too surprising that Rebecca Paltrow Newman is also into the new agey rich white lady mindfulness stuff. Her bio on the website for WeGrow, a WeWork company that she runs, until recently read as follows. Rebecca has traveled the world apprenticing and studying under many master students, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Mother Nature herself, and is committed to creating an educational community that fosters growth in humans' minds, bodies, and souls, elevating the collective consciousness of the world. Namaste. She also studied Buddhism in college, and she's a certified yoga instructor, none of which is bad. It's fine. But it is funny reading about how into spirituality and mindfulness this lady is, and then reading this paragraph from the Wall Street Journal. Ms. Newman has ordered multiple employees fired after meeting them for just minutes, telling staff she didn't like their energy. She and Mr. Newman have sent maintenance and IT staff to their homes to fix various items. Okay. Now, as for what exactly WeGrow, the company she runs, is, it's a preschool and elementary school owned by the We Company. And it's expensive as fuck. Tuition runs from $26K a year for 2-year-olds up to $48,000 for students aged 5 to 11. WeGrow currently has just one school in New York City's Chelsea neighborhood, though they say they plan to expand to further locations. And in addition to WeGrow, the We Company's companies also include We Live, which is pretty much WeWork, but for a living instead of working. It's apartments. Furnished modern apartments with lots of communal amenities and events and flexible month-to-month leases. Also short-term stays for business travelers or people who just want an alternative to a typical hotel. For residential, their cheapest option, this absolutely tiny room right here with a Murphy bed, starts at $3,100 a month. Though I don't know, I guess for lower Manhattan, it's probably not too far off from normal. For nightly stays, NYC rates start at $350 per day for that same tiny studio, which, I don't know, I guess isn't that bad for New York either. Okay. I mean, they've only got 2 locations, New York and Washington, D.C., but again, they've got plans to expand. Anyway, We Live has been around long enough that the general consensus among people who've lived there is that it's basically a college dorm, but for adults. People who moved in without a whole lot of friends seem to love it. Other people say that it was an okay place to stay before they figured out a more permanent and affordable situation elsewhere in the city. Fine. Anyway, all these businesses, WeWork, We Live, WeGrow, are wrapped up in the We Company, who last December filed for IPO to get listed on the stock market. And when you do that, you have to publicly disclose a lot of information so that investors and the government can know that nobody's getting screwed. And this IPO information here contains a lot of fun facts. For example, when WeWork rebranded as the We Company, they paid $5.9 million to another company called We Holdings LLC for the rights to use the name. Sure. Now the thing is, We Holdings LLC is a completely separate company that just happens to be owned by Adam Newman and his family to manage their stocks and assets. So Newman literally just had the company that he's a CEO and part owner of pay him personally millions of dollars to use the word we. Now, some saw this as stupid, others saw it as unethical. So after enough people complained, Newman paid the money back. Similarly, it turns out a lot of these buildings that WeWork leases for their office locations are buildings at least partially owned by Adam Newman, which is also frowned upon, particularly by investors and potential investors who want the people running companies they invest in to do their fiduciary duty and avoid what's known as self-dealing or conflicts of interest. Newman also cashed out $700 million worth of stock over the summer, which is not something you generally do if you're confident about how that stock is going to do when it goes public in just a few months. Now, WeWork's IPO paperwork also very much frames it as a tech company, despite them really just being a landlord company that happens to own some tech assets. They point out all their tech hires in engineering and coding and whatnot and say, look, we're tech, but most big modern companies have a similar proportion of employees who would be considered tech workers. Like, just because people do all their banking online nowadays does not mean that Bank of America is a tech company. They're a bank that does a lot of tech stuff because it's 2019 and every large business needs to do tech stuff. But hey, the stock market gets a lot more excited about tech IPOs than boring old office space company IPOs, so we get it. What the stock market is not excited about, though, is the fact that WeWork lost nearly $2 billion in 2018. To put that in perspective, because billions are basically inconceivable, WeWork lost $220,000 every hour of every day for a straight year. So they got a lot of debt, and their current business model doesn't generate profits, and never has. Bit of a red flag for investors, but lots of tech companies take over a decade to turn a profit, except, oh yeah, this isn't actually a tech company, it's an office space company with over 500 locations in 29 countries. Their average lease term on these buildings is 15 years, and they've got 80% occupancy overall, which isn't terrible, but it's not great. If an economic downturn or a recession were to hit, and a lot of people think that it will, there's going to be a lot fewer people renting WeWork space, and they'll lose even more money because they're stuck in those 15-year leases all around the world on a scale that they can't control. So with all these concerns, while WeWork was initially valued at $47 billion back in January, its valuation has now reportedly dropped to just around $10 billion, which is not great. And I'm only really scratching the surface of why basically everyone in the finance sector thinks WeWork and its IPO are a bad investment. But long story short, the planned September IPO is no longer happening and has been postponed indefinitely. And founder and CEO Adam Newman has been pushed out. He's no longer the CEO, though he does still retain his chairman title. I mean, poor guy, but don't feel too bad for him. He may have lost most of the control he has over this company that he founded, but again, it was not a very fresh idea to begin with, and it's weird that anyone ever treated it as such. Also, if they hadn't had so much of this modern obsession on rapid, endless growth that all these companies seem to have, WeWork would probably be in a much better place right now. Also, Adam Newman is still a multi-billionaire who, God willing, will find a way to live forever regardless of all this, so I don't know, fuck him, who cares? Anyway, that story took way too long, and I don't know if anyone cares, but if you're still around, allow me now to tell you all about the fine companies sponsoring this content. Starting with Capterra. What if you could make your work take less work? You can with Capterra. Capterra helps you find the right software for your needs fast, so you can get back to business even faster. Compare thousands of software options, read reviews, and instantly narrow your favorites. You'll have more time in no time. Find the right software right now at capterra.com/newsday. Capterra is the leading free online resource to help you find the best software solution for your business. With over 1 million reviews of products from real software users, discover everything you need to make an informed decision. Search more than 700 specific categories of software, everything from project management to email marketing to yoga studio management software. No matter what kinds of software your business needs, Capterra makes it easy to discover the right solution fast. Join the millions of people who use Capterra each month to find the right tools for their business. Visit capterra.com/newsday for free today to find the tools to make an informed software decision for your business. Capterra.com/newsday. That's CAPTERRA.com/newsday. Capterra, software selection simplified. And this episode is sponsored by Mack Weldon. Mack Weldon is a premium men's essentials brand that believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. They are betting that they are the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants that you will ever wear. If they don't leave you fully satisfied with your first pair, you can keep it, and they'll still refund you, no questions asked. I've been wearing Mack Weldon underwear and socks for the last few months, and folks, I have experienced true comfort. I can never go back to the way things were before. Most recently, I got a pair of their Sunday lounge pants, and they are seriously the most comfortable pants I've ever worn. Not including sweatpants, of course, but they're close. For those who sweat, Mack Weldon has a line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial, meaning that they eliminate odor. And not only does Mack Weldon's entire line of basics look good, they also perform well no matter the occasion. Work, exercise, dates, you name it. And if you visit MackWeldon.com and use our promo code NEWSDAY, all one word, at checkout, they'll take 20% off the cost of your first order. Again, that's MackWeldon.com. Use promo code NEWSDAY, all one word, at checkout, and you'll save 20% off the best underwear, socks, pants, you name it, of your life. All right, I've got a little bit more news for you today, starting with some robot news. At this point, we've seen Boston Dynamics robots do all sorts of horrifying things. Walking, climbing, jumping, backflips. We get it. These robots can definitely murder people at this point. But if that weren't clear enough for you, they've released a new video this week showing off their humanoid Atlas robot doing some gymnastics or parkour or I don't know, whatever you call it when there's a fucking robot who's way more agile than the vast majority of humans. He's rolling, he's jumping, he's doing handstands and somersaults. He's basically taunting us at this point, and I hate it. Now, to be fair though, it is important to note that anytime Boston Dynamics releases one of these videos, it's after numerous failed attempts. They're just showing you the one good take where Atlas didn't fall flat on his face like a big dumb idiot. And while there's plenty of AI keeping Atlas balanced and whatnot, these robots are still mostly controlled or at least told what to do manually. Atlas can't kill you yet. Not unless someone controlling an Atlas wants to kill you. Then I guess Atlas can kill you. But Atlas himself, not gonna kill you. Unless someone wants him to, then he's gonna kill you. He's also still a prototype too, though the same can no longer be said of Atlas's sibling, Spot. The Spot is the one that looks like a headless dog, and Spot is now available to purchase. Yay! Now this doesn't mean just anyone can order a Spot robot though. There's a whole sales process that you need to go through, and they haven't even revealed the price, though it's expected to be in the tens of thousands of dollars. They're also being very selective about who they sell this to at this stage, so customers need to make a compelling pitch as to why they want one. You can't just say, I want to pet it. There's also a leasing program targeted at customers who want to just tinker with Spot and maybe develop hardware or software for it to do specific things. It looks like Boston Dynamics is mainly marketing Spot to the construction, energy, and public safety industries, but it can't really do a whole lot right now. It has to be manually controlled using a video game style controller, though it does deal with obstacles on its own to a degree. Having it do more complex automated tasks, it will likely involve some DLC or additional hardware, and at launch, Boston Dynamics still hasn't released the creepy neck arm attachment. Nope. But all that's coming eventually, along with everything else they're working on. It's only a matter of time, guys. I mean, there's only 100 or so Spot robots at launch, but you can definitely expect to start seeing these things out in the wild in just a couple of years. They're here, so yay. Welcome to the future. In other news that's slightly less dystopian, people using Tinder to find people to date and or have sex with may be happy to learn that their dating app of choice is also putting out narrative content now. The pile's already pretty thick with Netflix, Hulu, Apple, Amazon, Disney, Peacock, and the rest, but you can add Tinder to the pile with Swipe Night, their upcoming live-action choose-your-own-adventure series? Experience? I don't know what to call it, but it'll use the swipe right, swipe left decision-making process that Tinder built itself on to tell a story described as follows. Swipe Night follows a group of friends played by Angela Wong Carbone, Jordan Christian Hearn, and Shea Gabor, led by none other than you. As the story unfolds, you'll face moral dilemmas and practical choices, with only 7 seconds to decide and no going back. After each Swipe Night story release, critical choices will be added to members' profiles, showing which decisions potential matches did or did not make. And all of this new information will make for plenty of material for post-apocalyptic banter. So yeah, your choices in this interactive content will in fact influence your experience on the dating app. Which on the one hand seems like an okay way to break the ice with a match, similar to seeing a movie together and talking about it afterwards. It's something to talk about. On the other hand though, the decisions that you make in 7 seconds reportedly range from, quote, the seemingly unimportant, how best to DJ a party, to the critical, whose life to save. But I don't know, I suppose knowing who a potential match would choose to live or die in a life or death situation, it might be a useful thing to know. It's good to know that early before things get too serious. I don't know, this thing sounds really dumb, but I also haven't been single for a very long time. So maybe I'm out of touch. No, it's the children who are wrong. Anyways, that's it for today. The next time I see you, Ricky will again be by my side, allegedly, and things will all go back to normal finally. For now, thank you for watching, and if you haven't, be sure to check out these recent episodes that I've done, many of which include some of your favorite guests from yesteryear, from ETC show past. Check them out, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.